The year was 1939. Whispers of war grew louder, bracing the world for a conflict unlike any other. This was World War II, a global conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation. Amidst the chaos, stories of courage and sacrifice emerged, tales that continue to inspire generations. To understand World War II, we must look back to the Treaty of Versailles. Germany faced crippling reparations, breeding resentment. The global depression of the 1930s fueled extremist ideologies. Totalitarian regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan set the stage for another global conflict. As the 1930s progressed, Hitler defied the Treaty of Versailles. The appeasement policy by Britain and France only emboldened him. The Munich Agreement ceded the Sudetenland to Germany, delaying the inevitable. The world braced itself for the coming conflict. On September 1, 1939, German forces stormed Poland. Hitler's blitzkrieg swiftly overwhelmed Polish defenses. Within weeks, Poland was overrun and divided between Germany and the Soviet Union. Britain and France declared war on Germany, plunging Europe into conflict. The early months of the war saw little fighting in Western Europe. Hitler turned his attention westward, conquering Denmark and Norway in April 1940. The invasion of Scandinavia shattered the Allies' sense of security. The real battle for Europe was about to begin. On May 10, 1940, Hitler unleashed his blitzkrieg on Western Europe. German forces outflanked Allied defenses, trapping troops at Dunkirk. The situation for the Allies was dire. The fate of Western Europe hung in the balance. The evacuation of Dunkirk was a desperate race against time. Over 338,000 Allied soldiers were ferried to safety. Paris fell to the Nazis on June 14, 1940. France's fall left Great Britain standing alone against Nazi Germany. With France fallen, Great Britain stood alone. Prime Minister Churchill rallied the British people. The Battle of Britain became a defining moment. The Royal Air Force, though outnumbered, fought with determination. On June 22, 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa. The invasion of the Soviet Union marked a turning point. The German army advanced rapidly but faced fierce resistance. The harsh Russian winter turned the tide against Germany. In 1942, the tide began to turn at Stalingrad. The battle raged for over 5 months. Soviet defenders fought with ferocity, bleeding the German army dry. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a catastrophic defeat for Germany. In November 1942, the Allies launched Operation Torch. Anglo-American forces targeted German and Italian forces in North Africa. The campaign marked the entry of the United States into the European theatre. By May 1943, Axis forces in North Africa were defeated. On June 6, 1944, the Allies launched D-Day. Over 150,000 troops stormed the beaches of Normandy. Despite heavy casualties, the Allies established a beachhead. D-Day marked a turning point, setting in motion the final drive towards Berlin. Section 4, Island Hopping, the Pacific Theatre. While the war raged in Europe, a different kind of conflict was being fought in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific theatre of World War II was a brutal struggle across thousands of miles of ocean, jungle, and island chains. Following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, the United States was drawn into a war against Japan. The tide turned in 1942 with the American victory at the Battle of Midway, shifting the balance of power. Using island hopping, the United States gradually pushed back the Japanese, capturing key islands and air bases. The battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa in 1945 symbolized the brutality of the Pacific conflict. While D-Day marked a turning point in the West, the Eastern Front remained a scene of relentless and brutal warfare. The vast steppes of Russia and Ukraine had become a graveyard for millions, the Red Army clashing with the Wehrmacht in a titanic struggle for survival. Following the catastrophic defeat at Stalingrad, the German army was in retreat. But it was a slow and agonizing process, marked by fierce counteroffensives and desperate defenses. The Red Army, hardened by years of war and fueled by a burning desire to liberate their homeland, fought with a ferocity that shocked even the battle-hardened German veterans. The battles for Kursk, Kharkov and Kiev were amongst the largest tank battles in history, vast armored clashes that churned the earth and left thousands of destroyed vehicles in their wake. The human cost of the Eastern Front was staggering. Millions of soldiers on both sides perished, victims of bullets, bombs, disease and starvation. Civilians caught in the crossfire suffered horrifically, their homes and lives destroyed by the relentless advance and retreat of the opposing armies. Despite the hardships they faced, the Soviet people remained defiant, their resolve unbroken. Factories relocated to the east churned out tanks, planes and weapons, fueling the Red Army's advance. The Eastern Front, though often overshadowed by the events in the West, remained a crucial factor in the Allied victory, tying down vast numbers of German troops and grinding down the Wehrmacht's strength. The Italian campaign, often referred to as the Forgotten Front, was a long struggle amidst the rugged mountains and picturesque valleys. Following the Allied victory in North Africa, the decision was made to invade Sicily and mainland Italy. Operation Husky began in July 1943 and was relatively straightforward. However, the mainland invasion in September 1943 bogged down into a costly campaign. The German army, determined to defend its southern flank, took advantage of the terrain, establishing formidable defenses. The campaign was complicated by Italy's political situation. Mussolini was deposed in July 1943, and a new government declared war on Germany. Yet German forces controlled much of the country, making Italy a battlefield divided. Battles like Monte Cassino and Anzio were brutal and costly. Though overshadowed by events in France and Germany, the Italian campaign played a crucial role in weakening German defenses. As the war progressed, the Allied air forces, spearheaded by the United States Army Air Forces and the British Royal Air Force, launched an increasingly intensive campaign of strategic bombing against Germany. The aim of this campaign was to cripple Germany's industrial capacity, disrupt its war production, and undermine the morale of the German people. Thousands of heavy bombers, escorted by long-range fighter aircraft, attacked German cities, factories and military installations, dropping tons of high explosives and incendiary bombs. Cities like Hamburg, Dresden and Berlin were devastated by firestorms, their streets reduced to rubble, their populations decimated. The strategic bombing campaign, while undoubtedly having a significant impact on Germany's war effort, remains a controversial aspect of World War II. The high civilian casualties, particularly in the firebombing of cities, raised moral questions about the targeting of civilian populations and the indiscriminate nature of such attacks. The debate over the ethics and effectiveness of strategic bombing continues to this day, a reminder of the complex moral dilemmas inherent in warfare and the enduring legacy of World War II. In the Pacific, the island hopping campaign continued with relentless intensity. American forces, supported by Australian and New Zealand units, fought their way closer to the Japanese mainland, island by island, each victory coming at a high cost. The battles for Iwo Jima and Okinawa, fought in the spring of 1945, were amongst the bloodiest of the Pacific War. Japanese defenders, imbued with a fanatical determination to fight to the death rather than surrender, resisted with a ferocity that shocked even the battle-hardened American veterans. The battle for Okinawa, in particular, was a harbinger of the horrors that might await in a full-scale invasion of mainland Japan. Japanese kamikaze pilots loaded with explosives crashed their planes into American ships, inflicting heavy casualties. Civilian casualties on Okinawa were also horrific, with thousands caught in the crossfire or driven to suicide by Japanese propaganda that portrayed the Americans as barbarians. As the war in the Pacific reached its climax, a new and terrifying weapon emerged that would forever change the course of human history: the atomic bomb. As the Allied armies liberated Europe, they uncovered a horror that transcended the already unimaginable brutality of the battlefield: the Holocaust. The systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its collaborators stands as a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. This genocide, driven by a toxic ideology of racial hatred and anti-Semitism, targeted Jews along with other groups deemed undesirable by the Nazis, including Roma, homosexuals, the disabled, and political opponents. The Holocaust was a meticulously planned and executed campaign of mass murder, carried out in concentration camps, extermination camps, and through mobile killing squads. Jews were rounded up from their homes, stripped of their possessions, and herded into cattle cars, transported to camps like Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, and Sobibor. There, they were subjected to unimaginable horrors: starvation, disease, forced labor, and ultimately extermination in gas chambers. The stories of the Holocaust survivors, those who somehow endured the horrors of the camps, are harrowing testaments to human resilience in the face of unimaginable cruelty. They speak of unimaginable loss, of the systematic dehumanization of their people, and of the constant fear that each day might be their last. The Holocaust stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of civilization and the ever-present potential for evil to take root and flourish, even in the most civilized of societies. Section 2. The Home Fronts, A World at War. While the battlefields of Europe and the Pacific witnessed the most visible signs of conflict, the impact of World War II extended far beyond the front lines. The home fronts, from the bustling factories of Detroit to the quiet villages of rural England, were transformed by the demands of total war. Women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers, filling the void left by men who had gone off to fight. Children collected scrap metal, grew victory gardens, and participated in air raid drills. Propaganda posters urged citizens to support the troops and remain vigilant. Air raids brought the terror of war home, leaving behind shattered buildings and traumatized civilians. Despite hardships, people demonstrated resilience, supporting their troops and hoping for victory. Section 3. A World in Ruins, The Human Cost of Conflict. As the guns fell silent in 1945, the world surveyed the wreckage of the deadliest conflict in human history. World War II had left an indelible scar on the face of the planet, its human cost almost beyond comprehension. Tens of millions lay dead, soldiers killed in action, civilians caught in the crossfire, victims of genocide and war crimes. Entire cities lay in ruins, their once familiar streetscapes transformed into desolate landscapes of rubble and ash. The economic cost of the war was equally staggering. Industries lay shattered, infrastructure destroyed, and economies crippled by years of conflict. Millions were homeless, displaced from their homes, their lives uprooted by the chaos and destruction. The psychological scars of war ran deep, leaving behind a generation haunted by memories of violence, loss, and the horrors they had witnessed. Yet amidst the devastation, there was also a sense of hope, a determination to rebuild and to create a better world from the ashes of the old. The survivors of the war, those who had endured unimaginable horrors, emerged with a renewed appreciation for the fragility of peace and the importance of international cooperation. The world, weary of war, yearned for a lasting peace, one that would prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening again. Section 1. A New World Order. The aftermath of World War II saw the emergence of a new world order shaped by the victors and scarred by the conflict. Old empires crumbled, making way for new superpowers and a world divided by ideology. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as rivals, locked in a Cold War defining international relations. The formation of the United Nations in 1945 offered hope in a world reeling from horrors. The Nuremberg trials held Nazi war criminals accountable, establishing a precedent for international justice. The Cold War, fueled by mistrust, divided the world and sparked proxy wars in Korea and Vietnam. Section 2. The Enduring Legacy. Despite the challenges of the post-war era, the legacy of World War II continues to shape our world. The conflict spurred technological advancements, medical breakthroughs, and social changes. The war highlighted the importance of human rights, international cooperation, and confronting intolerance. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, enshrined fundamental rights and freedoms. The war accelerated decolonization, with many nations gaining independence, reshaping the political map. The world today owes a profound debt to those who fought in World War II. As we navigate the 21st century, we must honor their sacrifices by striving for a just, equitable, and peaceful world.